Hello, everyone, and welcome to Race in America, a Candid Conversation. I'm Chris Miller from NBC Sports Washington, and I am honored and privileged to have three prominent voices in our community that can speak on the matter of race in our country. We have our WNBA champion, Natasha Cloud, joining us. We have Maryland head football coach Mike Locksley, and my brother, Ian Mahinmi, 13 years in the league, an NBA champion, and a current member of the Washington Wizards. I thank you three for joining me. I want to get started with something that I saw this morning, a quote that kind of speaks to what we're going to talk about, hopefully for the next hour. And it was from Shirley Chisholm, who was the first U.S. Congresswoman in U.S. history. She wrote, if they don't give us a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And what I thought was very poignant about that conversation that she had was, it's time for us to get our seat at the table. Natasha, I want to start with you because you have made a very difficult decision in your personal and professional life. I want you to share with our viewers and listeners the decision that you made regarding playing once the WNBA season begins again.
Yeah, it was a really hard decision for me to make. I chose to forego this 2020 WNBA season in order to continue to fight and advocate and stand on the front lines when it comes to social reform. So I will be foregoing it. I won't be playing the 2020 season. It was a decision that we either play or we opt out or we receive $0. So personally, this is a huge decision that I made. Financially, it's a huge decision that I made when you're talking about providing for my family. But I feel like I'm being called to something greater, and I got to use my platform now. I have so much momentum, so much leverage, and going into a bubble and being taken out of my community is not the right way to go about social reform. So I'm making that decision to opt out.
We will get more into this during our conversation, Natasha, but respect to you. Obviously, the amount of money that you're losing really shows where you stand in terms of continuing the conversation, continuing to be out on the front lines. My brother, Ian Mahinmi, on the other hand, my friend, you are with the Wizards team that is about to embark on the journey down to Orlando, and you have been very outspoken even before the George Floyd incident. You and I have had conversations over the years, my friend. Give me the thought process that you are going through right now as the Wizards are about to embark on this journey to Orlando.
I mean, it's a tough discussion. Myself, I believe that we could do both. I believe that, people like Tasha that are making a huge sacrifice are just as important as the people that are going to go in this bubble, but to go in this bubble with a game plan. Mm-hmm. And, it's one thing to say, okay, I want to use this platform, and it's another thing to really actually have a game plan, have something that you want to stand behind and put the pressure on the NBA to give you the platform that you deserve to say what you want to say. So, like me, a lot of people is obviously talking about Kyrie and Dwight and to me, this is not a black or white type of thing. This is not a day or night. Like, we need both sides. We need that, and I think it's good and it's productive only if you have a game plan. I know Tasha very well. Me and her, I spend a good amount of time on the phone and through Zoom meetings talking about what's going on, and I know that she has a game plan. I am 100% behind you. And myself, I'm the same way. I'm preparing myself to get into this bubble, not just to go out there and play.
Yes.
That is definitely what's the only thing on my mind. I'm going to do that. I'm going to play basketball, but I'm going in the bubble in the mindset of how can I use this platform to fight the number one goal that we have right now. And it is the systematic racism You know, it is the police brutality. It is the how can we wake our community and elevate our community and make sure that we go and vote and all these other things that matters, you know. And I was on the call yesterday with Michelle Roberts for a long time, and that was my message. I'm like, hey, listen, you know, we're going in this bubble for probably the first time in the history. You're going to have 450 players, superstars, rookies, and everything in between in one spot. Don't lose this opportunity, because this might never happen again. When you have that amount of people that have a voice in one place where we could sit down, we could talk, we could actually say what we need to say out loud, being there together, it's important. This is an opportunity that we cannot lose, and we cannot, you know, look at it like a few months from now and be like, man, I wish we would have done that. No, we got to come in this bubble with a game plan. And I challenged her, and she said she was working on it. And it's a lot of people like myself that also are looking for this, at this opportunity, like, okay, we need to take care of this. So, you know, that's my mindset. You know, my family, it's going to be a sacrifice for me, because I'm going away for I don't know how many weeks, you know, away from them. And after being together for such a long time, it's also a tough moment. But in the big picture, this is nothing to me. So I'm going in there with a game plan, and you know, I'm pretty confident in myself.
Jan, I appreciate your words, and obviously, you know, the support of many people outside of the NBA, WNBA. We're showing you guys a lot of support, regardless of the decision that you make, because it's a nuanced decision, Coach Locksley. This isn't a right or wrong, whose decision. This is what is in the best interest of your family, what is in the best interest of keeping yourself safe, because all we have to do is look at what has happened today in Florida. The numbers continue to spike upwards. Coach Locksley, you are a Black head coach in a Power 5 conference. What has the last couple of weeks been like for you in terms of your family and communicating your message to your players and staff?
Yeah, you know, Chris, I think, you know, both Tasha and Jan hit it right on the head, that it starts with one person at a time, and then affecting your family, then you affect your community, and it continues to grow outwardly. And for me, the last 2 to 3 weeks as a Black man, and seeing and hearing, because, you know, I'm on both sides of it, because I'm a Black man, but I'm also a coach and an educator that has a diverse team that I have to mentor and bring along. So for me, it's the first thing I always try to do is take the emotion out of it, and make sure that, you know, because I was really emotional seeing what's taken place the last 3 weeks as a Black man. And the next step I wanted to do was communicate, because I know how, you know, I monitor our players on their social media when a lot of the stuff went on with George Floyd's death. You know, I saw some of the issues that are systemic on the outside come into the locker room. And one of the biggest things we've tried to build is trust and cohesion and unity within our football family. And so the first thing you got to do is address it and take care of your family first. And so we had some really strong conversations, me allowing the leadership group within our team to play a major role in the direction that we wanted to take, because I'm a big believer the unified platform of many voices compared to just 100 different ones seems a lot stronger and comes out a lot stronger. And as you know, I know Jan said it, and Natasha believes it as well. It takes both sides of it. It's not just the Black kids on my team. It's the white kids on my team that really didn't understand the looting and the things that they were maybe commenting on and where it comes from, along with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. And, you know, was it against the flag or was it against social injustice? And those are all education things that, you know, what I wanted to do and what I've started to do, you know, we were on vacation I've started educating myself. I mean, I've watched 13th, the documentary. I'm watching Eyes on the Prize, the documentary. I'm reading everything I could. I studied what defunding the police meant because, I'm on a police reform group where I met with the assistant chief of Houston Police, and we're coming up with a playbook to give our players. So I've got to create programming for these young 18 to 22-year-olds that are going to have already the platforms like Natasha and Jan have. And I want to protect them like I protect my own kids to say, use your platform, but make sure you educate yourself on it first. And as the leader of the Maryland football family, it's my job, just like we do domestic violence, drug abuse, gambling, all these other systemic issues that take place in society. I've got to do a better job as the leader of creating programming for racial justice, for police reform, all the things I can do to help our players be the best version of themselves when they leave my program.
I'm so glad to have all three of you on here because I have to admit to all of you, the last 3 weeks has been extremely difficult for me as a Black man, right? I have said this to several people that I'm close with, that I didn't feel like I had the platform to have a conversation, to have Ian Mahinmi, to have Natasha Cloud, to have you, Coach Locksley, to sit here and have a forum where we're actually talking about race in America and it not be about your sport. Natasha, tell me about like how you shot 30 times today and you had 40 points. Like, I'm so beyond that right now. I'm trying to get my mind back to that because I got to go back to work. But the one thing that really hit me about what happened with George Floyd, and I want to get all three of your takes on this, is for me, I've seen this before. Okay, I literally, Coach Locksley, I literally had to explain to my son, like, I saw this when I was in college in 1991. It was called the Rodney King beatings, and somebody recorded it, and those cops got let off, okay? I saw the riots and what happened. So when I see this thing with George Floyd, it brought back all of those thoughts. And I remember in 1991, the first time I saw it was on the late local news, and I thought it was a movie trailer. Because that's where my mind was. It's like, there's no way in hell that this actually happened to a Black man in Los Angeles where all these cops hit him. And I went back and looked this up. 58 times they hit him, right? So again, it harkened back to all of those thoughts. Jan, when you saw what happened to George Floyd, explain to me why it was different in your eyes.
Like me, I have such a different view because, first I'm African, and you wouldn't believe the stuff that I've seen as I was exposed. Like my dad always showed me what was slavery at home. I have pictures and my dad always showed me everything. So to me, like it wasn't the first time I saw something crazy like that happen. But like you said, at some point, like, what are you going to do about it? And you get to a point where, like now I'm 33 years old and I have 3 girls and I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, man, like if it doesn't start with me, like my kids are going to say the same, So when enough is enough, it's almost like you look back and I felt a little embarrassed of myself that it took Floyd George's story for me to be in shock again. It's almost like I became numb to it. It's almost like I became like, oh, I've seen this before. It's crazy, but I've seen it before. And it's like, okay, all right, that's it. No more. Now I'm a grown man. I have kids. I'm going to do anything I can now. Anything I can, anything in my power, to do my part, But it's this exact same thought process that went through your body. Like, hey, wait a minute, man. I've seen this already. You know, like, is it normal that I'm numb to this? No, it's not. And I don't want it to be normal for my kids no more. You know, I don't want it to be just another scene that they had seen before. You know, the fight is started a long time ago. And as an African, as a black male from Benin, where slavery was at its peak, you know, I got to do my part. Even though I started this fight a long time ago, I got to do more. I got to do more, and I'm willing to do more.
Natasha, explain to me what you thought when you saw the video, and then why is this different? Why do I feel like that the movement now, as opposed to what happened to Philando Castile in the same city of Minneapolis, why it's different this time?
Yeah, and to touch on your last point too, Rodney in 1991, he was easily beat almost to death. And then we're here in 2020, and our black men and women are being killed in broad daylight. And it's being filmed, it's being seen, it's escalated. Things have gotten more aggressive as we progress. It hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse. So you look at not only George Floyd, but Breonna Taylor. What George Floyd's murder did was wake America up. For 8 minutes and 46 seconds, you saw a man go through every part of his life. He's on the ground, he's pleading for his life, he's begging for his life. He's asking them, he's telling them, I can't breathe. He's asking them to get off of him. He's calling out for his mom. His nose starts bleeding. You see him pass out. You see him slowly lose his life and take his last breath. You see him get thrown onto a gurney, and there is no care at any moment by the people that are supposed to serve and protect that community. There is no care for his life. At that moment, his life did not matter in any sense. So for us as black men and women, we're watching our reality of every single day. Every single day when we walk out our doors, we are George Floyd, we are Breonna Taylor. We have the potential to be them. We have the potential to be murdered at the hands of the people that are supposed to serve and protect our communities. For white people, for our white counterparts, for our white co-conspirators, it woke them up to this is what they've been talking about. We're literally seeing it. You can't ignore it anymore. So it shook everyone to its core. And so what you're seeing now is that America is woke in every sense. You have black men and women who have been woke. This is our reality every single day. But the biggest difference is our white counterparts now see what our reality is. And so it swayed the people that have been silent. It swayed some people that have been neutral and have been quiet on the issue. Now they're understanding that with their white privilege, with their white platforms and voices, they can help us in this movement move forward. And I think that's why right now is such a monumental moment, is because we do have both sides collectively understanding that change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now.
Mike, I know we're dealing with the COVID. You can't get your hands on the kids the way you want to, but obviously you're probably using Zoom. You're probably texting the kids. How did you explain it to your players? Maybe more specifically, to your kids. I mean, again, we've seen this. Okay, we have a laundry list of black men and women that have been taken out, right? But this George Floyd one, for some reason, got everyone activated. How did you handle it?
Yeah, for me, again, I go into the dad mode. I go into parent mode. And to watch the video, I could easily see it be any one of my kids, any one of my players. Having lost a son 2 years ago to gun violence, obviously not at the hands of the police, but it doesn't get easier. No parent should ever have to bury their child. And for me, it really, really being a part of that fraternity of parents that have buried kids, to see George, his death, to hear him call out, those things bring out the inner Papa Bear in me. And for all of my players, all of my own personal kids, my community, it was a tough pill to swallow to watch and see it, the way it played out, and how ironic it is that he's taking a knee on his neck. And when you think about the game of football that I'm involved with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and the thing I talked to our players about was, the one word that comes to mind when you think of all the brutality that we faced as black men and women at the hands of police officers, is it's respect. I grew up in the Police Boys and Girls Club in D.C., and so my interaction with Officer Willie Borden, who ran the club I was a part of, my wife is a former police officer in Montgomery County, so not all cops are bad people, and not all black people are thugs or criminals. So to me, speaking to my family, my kids, my players, I thought it was important to hear them. As parents, sometimes I told somebody the other day, this is the first generation of kids that don't need their parents to teach them things, because they have the world at their fingertips with the internet and Google. I mean, you got 8-year-old kids that can make Thanksgiving dinner because of it. And so I think it's important as a parent to meet your players and meet your kids where they are. And right now, they are very much so activated. I hear the community that I grew up in, a tough community there in the southwest section of D.C. I hear their voices, and it hurts me as a role model, as a father, as a leader of men that when I go to sleep at night, I'm concerned for their safety, and the fact that I'm part of an organization that's going to have to come up with a playbook to how we can help protect our players and our families when they do run into law enforcement that aren't necessarily have the respect for us. But if everybody, if they could understand what it's like I know Jan and Natasha does, what it's like to be in a locker room on 3rd and 1 in football, nobody gives a what color you are, your socioeconomic background, your religion. They just want to know, are you going to do your job for our team and our family to be successful on this play? And the locker room arguments over the music, who's playing what, we want to play country, y'all play rap. It gets worked out because ultimately we're all part of one team, that team or organization. Well, if the world was part of one team, meaning we're all the same, we're all humans, we all deserve respect, we all deserve the right to be safe at the hands of police officers, just think of how much better all this would be. And so my platform is to be able to educate my players and my family that, what happened to George, I didn't show a lot of respect for him as a person, black or white. And when you respect someone, you don't treat them that way. And we got to get to the point where everybody has a mutual respect, whether you're on one side of the aisle in politics or the other. You have to have respect for the person and their opinions, and may not agree to disagree. But as we know in our locker rooms, there's a lot of agrees to disagree, but we all are fighting for the same cause and the same family, which takes away all the other things that usually come into play.
Mike, I want to get into police reform with all three of you, but real quick, just to follow up, your wife was a police officer with Montgomery County. I am curious to understand and learn kind of your conversations that you've had with her. How is she seeing this thing unfold, being a black woman and obviously being in Montgomery County?
Yeah. I mean, she sees it through the same lens I see it because of raising boys that we are concerned about, and maybe being in the organization where you see, kind of like our locker room, there's that locker room there where, maybe you're treated differently if you're a black cop than a white cop. So she sees it, and I can't speak for her. I'd rather her speak for herself. But I know the conversations we've had, we both are really concerned about our communities, about our African-American, our black kids growing up in these communities and then being, just afraid of what's continued to happen over and over and over again. As much as we think that we've moved forward, we've taken steps backwards, in my opinion.
I want to bring some facts to this discussion. Again, this is Race in America, a candid conversation with Ian Mahinmi, Natasha Cloud, and Maryland head football coach Mike Locksley. So the ACLU just came out with two really unfortunate reports recently on police departments in our area. And I want to specifically keep this in the area. I don't want to do a national database. I want to keep it right here in DC and PG County. In the DC population of Black to white people, the percentage was 47% Black, 37% white. However, the rate of stoppage was 72% Black, 14% white. Those numbers were taken from July to December of 2019 with over 62,000 stops involved. And we haven't gotten a response from Metro Police Department nor the mayor as of 9:30 this morning, in which we taped this podcast. But Natasha, I want to start with you. Is this a part of your platform that you were talking about to get some type of change done?
Absolutely. And I think this is the platform that both Jan and myself, as well as our other teammates, have come together collectively to unify on. We have different aspects of social reform that we want to touch on, but this is one of them. I think this is going to be the toughest one, is the bridge between community and our police departments. We need to do we need to educate ourselves, as you said, first and foremost, and then figure out what different social impact groups we can join in creating real change. And so that has been our biggest talks is, okay, we can talk, I can sit out, we can march, but what are the actual actions that we're taking moving forward? And so, we'll meet again this week at some point, probably one of these nights coming up. But this is definitely something that is on our radar because those numbers they're disgusting. And that is the reality, not only for DC, but many other communities in America. That is what is leading to these escalated issues when it comes to police brutality. And I do want to talk about what Coach Locksley touched on as well. We understand that not every cop is a bad cop. There's a lot of good cops out there as well. And there's more good cops than there is bad cops. But like he said, not every Black person is a thug or a criminal. And so you can't approach every Black person as a threat. And I feel that is the number one issue with our interactions with police is that we're immediately seen as a threat, that they have to be in defense mode because of the color of our skin. And that immediately escalates the situation, though it doesn't need to be escalated. I've been pulled over in DC before. It happened right before this last season. And a white cop approached me at 1:30 a.m. in the morning, coming home from shooting at Entertainment and Sports Arena. I'm by myself in my car, driving home to my apartment, and he approaches my car with his hand over his gun. The latch was already undone. And I hadn't been doing anything but driving myself home from shooting. And because I'm in a nice car, because my windows are tinted, my side windows are tinted, he approached me aggressively and in the wrong manner. And all the ticket that I got was a window tint. But that window tint could have been my life if I hadn't de-escalated the issue. And luckily I was able to, but this is the reality that we face every single day. It doesn't matter if we have a platform for basketball players, if we're coaches of BCS school, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we are Black men and women, and this is how we are treated.
Natasha, real quick, a follow-up, because we've all had that story, okay? We've all had it. We've all been pulled over. I want our viewers and our listeners to listen very carefully to what Natasha is getting ready to say. Natasha, I want you to explain what de-escalating the situation means and what you had to do in quick thinking in your mind to make sure that cop wasn't pulling that gun out that was already unlatched before he even had or she had this conversation with.
Absolutely. I could see him from my side view mirror. When he approached the car, he was walking almost in a sideways crouch position to my car. I could see that he had his dominant hand over his gun, in which then I saw when he got closer that the latch was already undone. For me, I've always been taught, even though I grew up in an all-white family, my mom has made sure to tell me that put your hands at 10 and 2. Put your hands where they can see them. You say yes, sir. You say no, ma'am. Whatever it may be, you be respectful. As Coach talked about, when he approached my car and he approached me aggressively, he was looking in the backseat of my car to see if anyone else was in the car. I made sure to assure him that I was alone. I'm coming from shooting. I play for the Washington Mystics. I just came from our gym. I'm just trying to get home. I live a block away. He was still looking in the back of my car. I told him he'd like me to roll down all my windows. He proceeded with roll down all your windows. I said, I'm reaching for roll down my windows. I'm going to reach on my door to make sure that I hit all my windows buttons. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing with my hands. My left hand is going to reach down. And he said, okay. I rolled down all my windows on both sides, not only my driver's side, but my passenger side as well. Went back to 10 and 2. He looked in the car so that no one else was there. I assured him that obviously I was alone. I'm just trying to get home. That's all I'm trying to do is get home. Hands still at 10 and 2. He asked for my license and my registration. I asked for permission to reach for my license and my registration, and I made sure to ask twice. Can I reach for my license and my registration now? With my right hand, my wallet is in my passenger seat. I'm reaching for my wallet. I am reaching for my wallet to get you my driver's license. I proceeded to do so, handed him my license, put my hands back at 10 and 2, and I asked him, can I grab my registration now out of my glove compartment? He proceeded to say yes. I again told him I am reaching with my right hand to grab my registration out of my glove compartment. I did so, handed it to him. He went back to his car. I proceeded to not move. I proceeded to keep my hands at 10 and 2. I was actually on the phone at the time. I was on the phone with my fiance, so I made sure to keep my phone on. Siri is great now. You can actually tell Siri that you're being pulled over, and she will record it. So if you need to do so, do that. But when he came back to my car, obviously he relatched his gun, and so I was able to kind of ease up and feel a little bit more that I de-escalated the situation. He proceeded to give me my ticket, and I made sure to show up to court. I knew I was going to lose. I knew the tint on my car was a little too dark. I knew I was going to lose, but I wanted to make sure that I held him accountable for how he pulled me over. I'm a 27-year-old Black female by herself driving home late at night after going to work out. And that's how you approach me. At that point, I'm more scared of you than you are of me, than you should have been of me. And I was lucky to have a minority judge who also happened to be female, and she ripped him a new when I was in that courtroom. And did it help that I was a Mystics player? Probably. But I wanted to make sure that I held him accountable so that he remembers the next time doing so, that he doesn't need to be in defense mode immediately with me.
That is the reason why I wanted you to be specific, because Mike, Jan, we've all had what's called the talk. And Natasha so eloquently just gave our white counterparts that have probably never had the talk with their parents exactly what that is. That is, when you get pulled over, you have to serve as the one that is trying to calm the situation down. Natasha, I cannot tell you, I grew up in the South. My mother told me the same exact story that you just told. Mike, how many times have we heard? 10 and 2, be polite, ask for permission. May I please get into the glove compartment and get the registration out? Yes, sir, no, sir. Again, bringing down the situation, regardless of what it is. I don't give a damn if you went 14 miles over the speed limit. It doesn't matter. It's when that cop comes and has his hand already on his gun, he is sending the nonverbal communication to Natasha that don't start nothing, won't be nothing. And that's unfortunate that we have to continue to live in a space like this. Jan, I want to get your take on this really quick. There was another report by the ACLU. It was a 94-page report on the systemic racism in PG County, which prompted their police commissioner, their chief, to resign. So there is some change that is going on. From your perspective, as it pertains to the police, as Natasha and Coach said, they're not all bad, but to see that Prince George's County has already made some steps in the direction of trying to address this situation, your thoughts?
I mean, it's encouraging, but like I've been saying, to me, the fight is bigger than that. If the people think that the fight is towards the police or some of those authority, is wrong. Like me, it's too many men that are hiding themselves behind that uniform. And the problem is that mindset that whatever race oppressing oppressive mindset that you're already wearing a uniform that gives you power. But on top of that power, you want to oppress people. You want to disrespect people because of their color. You know, that is that mindset that I'm fighting. So it is encouraging, you know, and I wish for more of this. But to me, until everybody is going to be held accountable for their action with real consequences, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening over and over again. And those numbers are still going to stay high. I mean, come on, like the numbers is almost unreal. Like, I could leave with a, okay, 25%. You're talking 75 and up? Like, come on, like, what is this? Like, this is crazy. You don't need to be a genius to see that it's freaking unfair. You know, we're not talking like, 45, 55, like, you're talking 80%, man. It's all on us. So, you know, we could talk as much as we want. You know, I'm a big believer. As long as nobody is held accountable for, as much as judges are not going to be, you know, taking crazy measures, you know, to scare them folks away, and it's going to keep happening.
Yeah, Mike, I had to educate myself on the Breonna Taylor incident. My sister lives in Louisville, okay, and she called me when it happened. And the more and more I started reading about this situation, I had no idea, guys, what no-knock warrant was, right? And the fact that she was shot 8 times on a no-knock warrant, which means you can just go up in somebody's house and set it off. I found that to really hit me, right? Because, again, I have a sister that lives in Louisville. That could have been my sister. I will say that the no-knock warrant thing is been done with. We actually put pen on paper to get that thing out of there in Louisville. But, Mike, that's the kind of stuff that we need, right? Natasha is a champion, front line. Jan has been protest, front line. Until we get pen on paper, it's just words, as Jan said.
Yeah, and it can't just be in Louisville. And that's part of this one group of police reform that I'm on that involves assistant chief of his Houston Police Department. These all need to be federal guidelines. There need to be uniformity to the no-knock warrants, the no use of chokeholds, all the different protocols that will help protect human lives when being arrested or being brought over by police officers. And I think part of the deal is you just have so many different jurisdictions that have different philosophies, different rules. And again, what you talked about, the legislation that took place in Louisville is legislation that we need to fight to get federally. There needs to be a federal data bank of police officers that have been charged with brutality to where their history follows them, so that they aren't able to get jobs in other counties or other jurisdictions that to where they can continue that type of behavior. And you know, I'm a big believer that our ability and our strength is in our ability to create and vote in legislation and people that this is important to. And it isn't black or white, it's people that these issues are important to. And that's to me, that's what my team all have decided to do, is to be really active as an organization in voter registration. And again, we don't tell you who to vote for, but you need to exercise your right to vote in your local communities. The people that you feel, the platforms that are important to you are going to push the envelope to get those things pushed through. So again, it's not about telling people who to vote for, but educating yourself on the voting process, how it works, what you need to do, and every vote matters. as well as how to research and be educated on the people in these areas in your local communities, again, where you can make an effect or make a change to get the right people in office that are sympathetic to these numbers that you just talked about, that are sympathetic to the systemic problems that continue to rear their ugly heads over and over and over again, to get those people out of there.
Mike, I'm so glad that you just brought that up. It is just a natural transition kind of into what has been voter suppression. What is happening? Natasha, go ahead, please.
Before you jump into the voting stuff, for me, that law in Louisville is BS, and it's the saving face. Yes, it's a huge step in the right direction, but Breonna Taylor's killers have not been arrested and have not been charged. And we're almost at 100 days now since she's been murdered. So you can pass this law and call it Breonna's law, whatever you want to do it. But this is the issue, is that those police men and women can murder someone and do it wrongly, and can murder George Floyd, can murder Breonna Taylor, and there's no repercussions. And this is what is a continued problem, is that we're not holding these people accountable. So this is a continued thing, that they can hide behind that shield, that they can murder someone in broad daylight and hide behind that shield and not be charged. It took protest and looting for them to arrest those cops in Minnesota. It took people burning buildings and burning cities for them to actually take movement. It took people being outside the mayor's office or the mayor's house for him to actually do something. So this is the issue here as well in a system. And me and Jan were lucky enough to be able to sit down with Malcolm Jenkins and pick his brain on what we can actually do moving forward. We felt he was at the forefront, so we wanted to sit and talk with him. And what we didn't even know is that there is CBAs. The same as there's a CBA in all of our leagues, there are CBAs between cities and their police forces. And what these CBAs do is they protect the police. They protect the union. They make them untouchable, so that, you know, there can be cases like Breonna Taylor, and yeah, they might fire one of the policemen, because they did, but he can easily, with that CBA, he can easily go to the next town over and be hired. And that is an issue. That is an issue that needs to be fixed. That is an issue that I had no idea there were CBAs. I had no idea. And they keep them out of the public's eye. They negotiate without the public being involved. And that is dead wrong. Because again, this can lead into voting and who we put in. It's not only about federal levels and our presidency, it's about our state and local as well. It is so important to be educated on who we are voting in. And too many times we vote for people that, okay, that man's black, so I'm gonna vote him in. But does he align with what your morals and your values are and what you need in your community? So again, this can be a segue, but there needs to be repercussions for these actions. And that is what we're missing right now, is if they were to try at least one of these cops and put one of these cops away for life for murdering someone. You know, you can do it all the time. If I had weed on me walking out my door, I would get more time than someone that raped someone or someone that has murdered someone. I could receive more time for that. And that is the corruption within our judicial system as well, is that we are just not holding people accountable that need to be held accountable.
Natasha, well said. Again, I want to get into a little bit of the voter suppression that's going on. Obviously, what's happening in Kentucky, what happened in Georgia, the optics of it. Just, you know, when you look at a video and you see people standing outside of a building and they're banging on the windows, and all they want is to exercise their right as American citizens to vote. That's a problem. And we need to stop lying. We need to stop acting like this stuff's not happening. All you have to do is open your eyes. And I guess this would be a way I want to kind of wrap this up with you guys. And again, I appreciate you being on Race in America, a Candid Conversation. What needs to change? What's the big picture thing you want to take away from kind of our conversation to tell people out in the world that you need to see get done as we try to bring sports back?
You know, as I hit on earlier, for me, it starts with, you know, when I was an 18 to 22-year-old, I didn't exercise my right to vote. I never voted in college. I didn't take it serious. I didn't necessarily prioritize it as something, a right to be able to vote. And then, as I educated myself on the civil rights movement and all the things we fought for, this ability to vote, and my team approached me about it, because my big thing is, and I know Natasha and Jan feel the same way, is one thing to just keep talking about it. We've talked about it enough. And as a coach, I'm big on what are the answers to it. Like, everybody can bring you the problems, but part of being the age that I have these kids, where they're in this developmental stage of boy to men in my program, developing them to understand the strength and power that they have through a unified collective voice, as well as an individual voice. And again, it starts really small. It starts with you making a difference and making a decision, to your guys next to you making it, to your community, to your family, to the state, to the federal. And that's how it's layered. And so they came to me and said, Coach, we want to be a part of voter registration for people in our demographics, in our communities, in the underserved communities, which they stress they want to go be a part of, serving the underserved areas, whether it's helping provide transportation, whether it's them educating themselves on the voting process, to go into communities and push voter registration and push educating on who are the people that support the causes and the legislation that you value, or the principles that you value. And to me, it starts with that. And I couldn't be more proud of our team and our football family, because it didn't take me to tell them this. They know in our family, like, don't come to me with just what all the problems are. Like, let's have solutions. We broke up into small groups, working groups, and then with each leader on my team coming back together as a team, we put out the unified statement, but we also had solutions that they want to be a part of to make a difference. And I mean, I know a lot of people jump on the voting thing, but to me, I think it starts with that, and especially in our local communities that we live in and that we work in and that we day-to-day involved with.
Mike, I appreciate that. Jan, let me get your final thoughts, brother, on this.
I mean, we touch on a lot of stuff. The actions are important, but, as a black male, and I understand, like you said, Chris, the voting, we got to know that our backs against the wall. They're not gonna make it easy on us. It's not gonna be, okay, now that we're all in the streets and the attention is towards us, like, they're gonna make this easier. No, they're not gonna make it easier. We might have to do twice as much, but we cannot let up. The voting, to me, is key, because I just recently, I do a lot of education on myself, because being a foreigner, being from France and Africa, it's a lot of stuff that I have to understand about the voting system here in the U.S. So I had a judge come into my house and kind of educating me on voting, but election, and especially local election, how it's done. And to realize that it is so much going on as far as local election, and how important it is, and how not educated our communities are about this. It's alarming. And talking to Judge Var, which she's a good friend of mine, and I asked her, what are the percentages of our community that vote for you being a judge? And when she said it was about 20%, it's alarming. And I don't think that people don't vote because they just don't want to. Some of the people are just not aware. They're not aware of timing. They're not aware of who they're voting for. So there is so much to be done as far as just education and educating our communities on who you voting for, what are the timing, what are the real impact that this is going to have, you know, in your life, in your parents' life, in your grandparents' life, in all your system, you know. So I think personally, I'm going to take on this fight. I really, really think that it's going to be important for people to, you know, people like myself to utilize their platform on educating our young folks. And I went to, so I'm in Texas the most of the time, and I decided to drove down South Side and ask some of those high schooler, you know, okay, you guys about to turn 18, the seniors, you're about to turn 18, you know, you guys know about local election? You guys know about, you know, do they teach you in your curriculum, you know, about, you know, local voting, local election, to find out that none of them knew nothing about it. And they're about to turn 18. So it's their time to go. I live on the north side. I'm going up north, talking to some high schooler, asking the same questions. North side is, as you know, more white. Is it in your curriculum? First answer is yes, we know about it. You know, there's a disconnection there. And I think that it's important for us to understand that it's not going to be easy. They're not going to make it easier for us. We got to do twice as much work, and we got to be prepared for that. And we got to do it. And I'm willing, this is definitely one of my focus. And I'm going to rally behind grassroots organization that's been relaying this message for years and years and years. And we'll try to make this move forward.
Yeah, thank you. Natasha, we started with you. We're going to end with you. I know you guys got somewhere to go, but I wanted you to make sure that your voice was heard as we close this out.
Appreciate that. Bring your folding chair, as you start this off with. Bring your folding chair. If they are not allowing you to be a part of the conversation, make yourself a part of the conversation. I think a lot of this falls on us individually, taking accountability for each and every single one of our voices and how powerful they can be. And then understanding collectively there is power in numbers. And so, but first individually, you need to take ownership. Take ownership of you getting out and voting. Take ownership of you registering to vote. Take ownership of you educating yourself. Don't depend on other people to do it for you. We've been doing that for far too long. Like Jan said, educate yourself. Do your due diligence. And if you need help, then reach out for resources. We are a resource. All three of us are resources. If you reach out to us, you're going to get a response from us. But you got to be willing to put yourself out there to ask for help too. Lay down your pride. You know, through this process, I've learned that, okay, I'm an independent Black female, and I take so much pride in that. But I also need to let that pride down and understand that I can't do this alone, that I need help, that I need Jan, that I need Coach, that I need you, that I need different resources in order to help educate me. So lay down your pride, and going into, we're about to restart sports. Do not let sports be a distraction. Do not allow them to distract. Like Jan's going, Coach, you're going to have a season moving forward. It is y'all's responsibility to not allow the big business of things to distract people from what is the reality that we still are living in every single day. And so for far too long, people are excited for sports to come back. They can't believe that people are willing to sit out. I've gotten so many like bad messages about sitting out, and, oh, you should be happy that you guys have a league. You should be happy and grateful that you get paid to play the game of basketball. I am extremely blessed. I am the first person to say that first and foremost. But at the end of the day, when I take that uniform off, I am Black. And these issues directly affect me. They directly affect my friends and family. They will directly affect my children. So for that, I'm not owned. I'm not a slave. It is my decision whether I play or not. And I support Jan with going to Orlando and understanding that he has a plan and that he will do his due diligence to make sure that that plan is played out. I also have a plan, and my plan is to be on the front lines, but that is my biggest thing with sports coming back. Please do not let it distract you from the issues that are going on. These are still relevant. These are still affecting these Black men and women. that you are watching throw touchdowns, that you are watching dunk, that you are watching score goals. This affects them directly. They are more than athletes. They are human beings, and that's what we need to get back to, is understanding that we are all human beings and we all deserve the same rights and equality within this country.
It was my honor and privilege to be with 3 power brokers in our area. Jan, my brother, thank you. Natasha, my sister, thank you so much. I got my folding chair. I'm ready. Coach Locks, go get those W's and keep those kids aware of what's going on in the world. This has been Race in America, a Candid Conversation. I'm Chris Miller. Stay blessed and safe, everybody.